On today's episode of Phinisde The NFL, my prayers have finally been answered as the Miami Dolphins added some safety depth with the signing of Marcus Maye, who there's a reason why he chose the Miami Dolphins, and we will talk about that. Also, on today's show, we are going to talk about if Zach Sieler is the most valuable player on defense right now due to how the off season went. We will also discuss PFF saying that, well, the Miami Dolphins might have the best cornerback duo in the NFL. We got a lot to discuss, a lot to go over. Smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and as always, let's get into this.
Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! The field on the near side, man open, touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it over the touchdown again! Let's go!
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go! What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one. I appreciate each and every one of you for coming through on today's episode. We've got a lot to discuss, a lot to go over, a lot to cover. Thank you again. I appreciate each and every one of you for showing us some love, man. It's Monday. That's what it is. It's Monday. It's not Monday. It's Tuesday. Sorry. Jeez Louise. See where I'm at right now? First things first, I want to thank a bunch of you for coming out and showing some love to the Sideline Tee yesterday. Do us the favor. Go over there. Go subscribe. Go show the ladies the love they deserve. All right. Not bad for their first episode. That was their first time going live and doing it for all y'all, and it could have been a whole lot worse. And I want to thank y'all for showing up and showing out. You know why? Because there's people who have over 1,000 subscribers, and they've been on Dolphins YouTube for over a year, and they can't even get 50 people in the live chat. And the ladies yesterday, they had over 50 people in the live chat. So I want to thank all of y'all for showing some love to them. All right. Now, I got a couple things I want to discuss here. A couple things I want to go over. All right. Number one. All right. I don't know if you guys saw the news today, but the word out of New York right now is that Aaron Rodgers is already skipping minicamp. Aaron Rodgers already has reason why. I mean, it's an unexcused absence. You know, he's going to be fined. What we know is he is going to be fined. So, you know, already not off to a good start. I mean, we're not even talking about the Hassan Reddick stuff. We're not even getting into the Hassan Reddick and, you know, him basically having no contact with the team. You know what I mean? Rough start, you know. I can only imagine if some of these Dolphins YouTubers and people were covering the Jets, what would they be saying right now? I mean, you talk about a holdout. Y'all thought Tua was holding out. Halle Dewberry says Aaron's missing practice already. Man, I am absolutely shocked. I am absolutely shocked that it's going down like that. Really, I am. I'm not going to lie. You know, that's a guy who he needs to be. I mean, if anyone needs to be locked in and getting more on the same page, more comfortable with his surroundings, it's Aaron Rodgers, especially with how that offensive line is looking. All right. And he's just not having it. So, and it's unexcused. They said he had another event. I don't know. For all we know, this guy went to Joshua Tree and is out there getting stoned at Joshua Tree, and that was the event. You know what I mean? So, hey, Ian Baller asked the real question: is Aaron holding out, or is that only a thing with Tua? You're asking the real questions, bro. I can't take it away from you. Miami Breaker 305, happy Tuesday. Thanks for sharing the love, allowing other channels to grow. Nothing but love. And speaking of, 8 o'clock tonight, the Dive Bar podcast, they'll have on Blake Ferguson. So, hey, man, go check out Dive Bar. Go continue to subscribe and show love to the Sideline Tee, all right? I think for their first time out, I think Britt, Mary, and Jennifer did a fantastic job with the three of them. I really do. So, and I appreciate you. Like I said earlier, there's people out here with over 1,000 subs in this community, and they can't have 50. They don't have 50 plus people watching them in the live chat. And the ladies did that on their very first show. So I think that's a massive, massive, massive step forward. You know what I mean? Because listen, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, those views don't mean a damn thing. It's all about the YouTube community. This is what moves the needle, and the girls are off to a great start. So speaking of, shout out to Brittany and the Sideline Tee. They gifted 10 Phinisde The NFL memberships. Polly King 305, Mark Brown, Eddie Mon 420, Jose Edwards, Eric, Meganus, Tony Bonner. I almost got you there. Real Special K, Charles Teal, Dolphins Empire. Appreciate you guys. Man, I'm going to be honest with you. We are 7 minutes into the show, and we're off to one of my rockiest starts in a very, very long time. I ain't gonna lie here. I thought today was Monday. I'm mispronouncing names and it's not keeping it PG when I mispronounce it. Let's be honest. So, plus, man, it's a tough one today. It feels like a Monday. I ain't gonna lie. Damn. Kevin Lee says, any news on to his negotiations? No, we're gonna see that continue to develop. It'll get done before. It'll get done. It'll get done before camp. Yeah, I know it's Tuesday. I thought it was Monday. How about them Cats? Listen, I said if the Oilers were going to beat them, they'd have to get into a run and gun. They'd have to get into an open ice pond hockey style. I thought the Edmonton Oilers would be able to suck them into it. They have not. And, man, you saw yesterday they're getting frustrated, right? When you start taking cheap shots, when you start doing what they were doing, clearly the frustration was setting in for the Edmonton Oilers. Hey, I'll say this. This next game is probably the biggest of the series. I wouldn't get too arrogant either. All right. Okay. Penguins fan here. My team went to the Stanley Cup in 2008, right? And we lost in 6 to the Detroit Red Wings. Returned the next year. Started the series off down. We lost the first 2 games in Detroit. Then they won 4 of the next 5 games, and we won in 7, and we clinched it into Detroit. So 2-0 don't mean, it's like, what do they say? For those who actually know hockey and aren't bandwagon fans and actually follow the sport, the real talk is here. 2-goal leads are the worst leads in hockey. So if the Florida Panthers can go into Edmonton and go up 3-0, then I think that series is pretty much a wrap. If Edmonton can finally, they were in the driver's seat for the first period in a little bit, but if they can finish a game off and get a win in Edmonton and it's 2-1, then you got a series on your hands. I'm gonna be honest. Nah, I don't think they're the wrong Western Conference team. What are you gonna say? Dallas should have been there. Dallas is kind of a choke artist too in that sense. I mean, they haven't won the cup since McDaniel was around, right? So, or are we gonna say Vancouver? Because trust me, Vancouver's another one. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. All I want is, and it's kind of with the NBA Finals too, with both. I mean, are we gonna get a series out of either one? That's the question. Sideline T podcast at 531 subscribers. Next stop 1,000. That's the goal. Next stop 1K, right? 1K on the way. So Rodgers missing minicamp. It's not excused. If this was Tua, people would be losing their mind right now. Hail and brimstone would be falling. The clouds would be collapsing to the ground. The seas would be parting, right? The ground would be opening up and we'd all be sucked up and falling in. And instead, that's not the deal. That's not what's happening. So listen, again, here's the thing. Tua could actually afford to and I'm not talking about financial aspect. I'm talking about he's been in this offense with this cast of characters going on their third year. He could actually afford to miss time. Aaron Rodgers, how many games has he played with this offense? Someone remind me, how many games has he played with this offense? Can he really afford to be missing this time? I don't think so. I really don't. I think he's playing with fire here. I really do. So, hey, to each his own. And then I don't know if you guys saw it because I don't know about you, but I'm hyped up for College Football 25 coming out next year. Not so much. Next month. Not so much. See, I screwed up again. Next month. Not so much Madden. But they announced today that Christian McCaffrey is the Madden cover athlete. So, shout out to Christian McCaffrey. A lot of people thought it was going to be Joe Burrow. And it ended up being instead Christian McCaffrey, rightfully earned. I mean, should have been Christian McCaffrey or Josh Allen that won the MVP last year. Let's be honest. I'd count 4 snaps, 3 downs, and a snapped ankle. Oh my God, you guys are killing him right now. He was at the OTA portion throwing the football, so I don't know about that. Maybe that's why he's going and smoking some peyote at Joshua Tree. I don't know. There were actually a few holdouts across the league. Yeah, T. Higgins. He didn't. I think Wirfs showed up. Jamar Chase showed up. T. Higgins still hasn't showed up, but he doesn't have to. The previous engagement does sound suspicious. I'm telling you, this guy is smoking peyote at the Joshua Tree right now. What are you talking about? What's her status? What do I look like? Hey, what is this, matchmaker reason? I don't know what her status. What's her Jennifer's status up in? You gotta be more specific, Kevin Williams, because I'm not out here to field relationship questions, my friend. His mechanics looked awful. In my opinion, he is not fit yet. Yeah, well, that's another thing, right? He's gonna have to get in game shape. This guy, brother. I'm gonna be honest with you, Kevin. I haven't asked her if she's or what her status is. So, my friend, show up on Sunday and next Sunday and show up in the chat and ask her your damn self, my friend. God damn. Oh my God. Sideline T. Brittany says she's taken by me. There you go. So there's your answer. Sorry, gentlemen. It's over. Yeah, you might want to go back to understand what I'm talking about. Jeez. Jason Keck says her status is not you. Man, people out here acting like, what do I look like? Matchmaker reason? What is this, the dating show? These guys. You guys need to relax, man. Holy jeez. Down boy. My God. Remind me not to invite Kevin Williams to the tailgate when me, Brittany, and Jennifer and everyone get together. My Lord. All right. I'm not going to invite a bunch of you, to be honest with you. I see you in the chat. My God. You guys are ruthless. You guys are killing me, man. You guys are killing me here. Oh, my God. Yeah, yeah, but I didn't. Listen, this is, as a father of 2 daughters, this isn't sitting well with me right now. I'm having an anxiety attack, and I'm not even 20 minutes into my show. I'm ready to be huffing into a freaking paper bag. Jesus Lord. Oh my God. She's swinging that hair. Come on, man. What does that say? What does that say? You know what that tells me? That she's adjusting her hair. Brother, karma coming for you, eh? I can already tell. Listen, I'm going to tell you something. All right. Everyone knows I think Nas is the GOAT. Nas is the greatest of all time. All right. Hands down. If you've ever heard the song Daughters, all right, there's a line at the end of the last verse. And when I had my first daughter, I thought of this. When I had my second daughter, it was just like, oh, that's the game. And there's some bars at the end of that song, and it says, they say the coolest players and foulest heartbreakers in the world, God gets us back. He makes us have precious little girls. Kevin, that's what's happening to you right now. That's what's happening to you right now. See, and Mary's here and calling y'all chaotic. And I can't believe I'm actually up here fielding questions like, oh my Lord. Thank you all for the membership. Love the podcast. Appreciate you, Tony Bonner. Let me get that correct this time. Bonner. All right. Brother, I don't know how this has evolved. I'm sitting here, I'm about to have a panic attack. I don't know what's going on right now. Like, I'm fielding relationship questions with one of my co-hosts. My Lord. God help me. And we just started. That was episode 1. Holy jeez. See that she's right. It was the mispronunciation that evolved. That's exactly correct. I blame myself. So, anyways, for those of you that have a newfound liking for Jennifer or Brittany, whatever the case may be is, right? If you're simping or you just enjoy their football takes, and I hope it's the latter, not the former, my Lord, this Sunday, 8 p.m., we'll be back for another episode of Dolphins After Dark. There will be no Neil Driscoll. He's off on his escapade with his family. So come join us for our Father's Day edition of, and we will not be talking about how Josh Allen is the daddy of the Miami Dolphins either, so don't get that in your mind. All right? Amy wants some Tua news. Well, Jared calls me Cupid now. I don't know about that. I know you. Kevin, I knew you subscribed without telling me you've ever subscribed. Let me put it that way. All right. Any Tua news? No, I can't report anything on the Tua front. I know he wants the deal done. I know he's kind of agitated with both sides, with Athletes First and with the Miami Dolphins, right? He wants his deal done. He doesn't want to hang it over his head. I think this gets done before training camp opens up. The framework of the deal has been done for weeks. This is coming down to guaranteed money and structure. That's what the issue is. That's where we're sitting at. All right. That's what's going on with that situation. So I think this gets done in the next 4 to 6 weeks, hopefully sooner. But I mean, is Greer and Shore going to come to an agreement, and is Athletes First going to stop trying to squeeze every last penny out? Well, that's what it's going to come down to. And so, listen, I think it gets done. So again, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. All right. Look at why do your minds got to go to the gutter? I'm gonna explain something to you. Look at these guys. Dolphins After Dark sounds triple X. Well, the whole reason why I went with the After Dark format is so, I don't know, if we have conversations like this that devolve from being a Dolphins channel, it fits under the umbrella. But really, like, the whole After Dark aspect, we haven't really even dived into it with the original cast to the cast we have now. The whole aspect of that is it's supposed to not just be Dolphin stuff. Like, if we want to talk about UFOs and aliens, knock yourself out. That's what the whole After Dark is supposed to have. You can talk about everything, not just Miami Dolphins content. That's what the whole After Dark label is supposed to be. And hopefully, as this offseason goes on, we will be diving more into that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So, that's it. Pyro, down boy, back in your hole. All right. So let's now that we've gotten all that handled and everyone's gotten their crushes for my new co-host up on the open. Thank you for that. Let's get into Marcus Maye and everything with that. All right. So in terms of Marcus Maye, last night, while the girls were live on the Sideline Tee podcast, Marcus Maye was signed by the Miami Dolphins. Now, a few interesting tidbits regarding his signing with... Back to business, boys. Yeah, for sure. Bring on the aliens. They're here. They walk amongst us. Former Jets and Saints safety Marcus Maye is signing with the Dolphins. Maye had multiple teams interested, but loves the roster in Miami and wants to be part of a Super Bowl contender, which he believes Miami has. Now, the interesting thing, too, about this is when the girls were live on the Sideline Tee podcast, they were literally asking the question about, what worries you about this team, blah, blah, blah. And I said the safety depth, and boom, within 5 minutes, they signed a safety. So, I mean, shout out to my crystal ball. But Marcus Maye, here's where I'm at with this. This is a number 3 safety. This is not someone who is going to displace, I don't even think he's going to displace Jordan Poyer. Now, with what he does as the player, all right, and what I think of him as the player, good player, 31 years old. He can play in the box. Right? He's very comfortable playing in the box. On top of that, you can flex him a little bit, right? He can play on the perch. He can play in the slot. So he fits what Anthony Weaver wants to do. A hybrid guy who can move around. Right? Now, he's mainly had been used up on the perch in the free safety position, but here's where it gets interesting. Holland is going to be shifted around. Poyer is going to be shifted around. Like, I don't see Marcus Maye filling a role as like a nickel linebacker, et cetera, et cetera. I think he's going to be moved around, and I think when you have packages where Holland is either up in the box or in the slot, that's when you're going to see Marcus Maye getting shifted to that single high spot. One interesting thing for me is, what does this say about where they saw Nick Needham's development at safety? All right. This also puts into question what they truly think of Elijah Campbell and what he provides depth-wise. On the flip side, I think it also kind of deads the whole hope that the Miami Dolphins are going to get Justin Simmons. Now, if you go back to 2020 with the Jets, Marcus Maye, he was the team MVP for the Jets that year. All right. He started 77 games in 7 years. And remember, the whole reason we wanted Justin Simmons was because of how much 3 safeties are going to be utilized Well, that is exactly what is happening here with Marcus Maye. You know what? You know who it kind of reminds me of? This is who it kind of reminds me of. This kind of reminds me of Marcus Williams. What happened with Marcus Williams? Marcus Williams was in New Orleans, right? And then he was brought over to Baltimore in 2022. And under McDonald and Weaver and etc., he's really, other than, I know he tore his pectoral last year, but he's looked very good since he's come over. He's been a great fit in he's been a great fit in Baltimore after basically learning under Dennis Allen in New Orleans. What happens here? Marcus Maye goes from being under Robert Saleh, then he goes and he plays a little under Dennis Allen, and now look at Anthony Weaver brings him over here. Familiarity is a big thing. That's why he's been brought on board. Familiarity with the scheme, what's going to be asked of him. He is your number 3 safety. So, I see someone in the chat asking, is Maye as good as Deshaun Elliott? I think they both have their issues in coverage, but I don't think they're not that far off, right? In terms of talent, right? Like, we're talking about talent. Okay, they're not that far off. Like, he's not better than, I don't think he's better than Poyer, right? But, I think Deshaun Elliott, the difference between them, and we'll see what they do here, but Deshaun Elliott is a little bit, I think he's a little bit better of a box defender. Now, both guys, and I'll be completely honest with you, both guys don't offer you, like, they're not, I wouldn't call them really good in coverage. I'd call them like above average, right? Like, I wouldn't expect, the fact of the matter is, Deshaun Elliott has 3 interceptions in his career, I think, right? And then you look at Marcus Maye, he has a little bit of better ball production. He has 8 in his career. He had 2 last year. So in terms of, I think Deshaun Elliott's a little bit better in the box. I think Marcus Maye offers you a little bit more in terms of, plays on the ball. But I do think they both have their issues with coverage at times. Now, if you're going to ask me, okay, well, gun to your head reason, who would you pick in coverage? Who's better in coverage for you? I would probably say Marcus Maye is a little bit better in coverage, but I still wouldn't sit here and call either one of them great. So, I think I would say, I would say Marcus Maye is a little bit better in coverage. Deshaun Elliott, and he offers you, more plays on the ball, right? Whereas Deshaun Elliott, I think he's just better in the box. I think that's because of how he's built, right? So, I'm not expecting elite top of the line play from Marcus Maye. I'm going to be completely 110% honest with you. I'm not expecting that whatsoever. I think as a number 3 safety, Marcus Maye is a great fit. I think he's a great fit. I really do. As a number 3 safety, I like that. As a number 3 safety, you're not relying on him to be one of your top guys. So, and the thing is, he hasn't lost a step like Poyer, right? The thing with Poyer is he's lost a step. So They're probably looking they can do a little bit more with Marcus Maye in terms of like out of the slot. They probably don't want to put Poyer up on the perch too much and have him cover, big chunks of the field where they think of, okay, we can do that more with Marcus Maye. And he probably comes on the cheap. Let's be honest. He's probably, I don't even know if he's going to impact the top 51. So, I mean, we'll see how it works out, but I'm a fan of this move. This is a solid move. Is it an elite move like adding Justin Simmons? No, but it's a solid move. All right. So I'll give them their props to that. And the other thing too is, and Marcus Maye believes we're a Super Bowl contender. And I wanted to talk about that because, guys, what do you think OBJ thinks we are? Like, I want people to realize it's not fans being homers anymore. League-wide, everyone knows how good this roster is. League-wide, everyone has a very high opinion of Mike McDaniel and, yes, Tua Tagovailoa. That's just a fact now. And so we've turned into not only a destination, but players legitimately think they can come here and win. And it's kind of what G. Reed says in the chat. We absolutely are a Super Bowl contender. We just need to stay healthy. As long as we stay healthy, we are straight. And we can make a lot of damage. George says, reason if anything, I would argue Maye has been somewhat rested from a physical standpoint the last couple of years because he's missed time. Man, I hope that's a deal. I ain't gonna lie. Because, you know what? We're gonna need him to stay healthy. We are gonna need him to stay healthy. So, now I know last year he missed time because he violated the NFL substance abuse policy. Remember, he signed a 3-year deal in 2022 for like $20.5 million, and then he was released in February this year. So I don't think that substance abuse policy violation went over very well, and they got rid of him. So hey, one man's trash is another man's treasure, and I'll take it. I mean, this secondary is deep, and we're going to show you how deep it is in a little bit here. Now, continuing on today, the Miami Dolphins announced that they've signed Patrick Paul. All right. So with that, Patrick Paul right now, he's been signed, and that leaves Chop Robinson as the only Miami Dolphin player that has not been signed yet. So, Patrick Paul, it's done. It's taken care of. The Miami Dolphins, second-round pick, locked up. And now all that remains is Chop Robinson. That's the only one that remains to be signed by the Miami Dolphins. All right. Continuing on here for you guys. A good article from Omar Kelly I wanted to share with you because it's something we keep talking about on this channel. And it's, are the Miami Dolphins ignoring the trenches? If NFL teams use the phrase, put your money where your mouth is, as a barometer for team-wide priorities, it would be glaringly obvious that the Miami Dolphins feel the interior spots on the offensive and defensive line are afterthoughts. Not only do 3 players who served as foundational players in the trenches on the offense and defense move on to greener pastures when Christian Wilkins signed a 4-year, $110 million deal with the Las Vegas Raiders. The Carolina Panthers also signed Robert Hunt to a 5-year, $100 million deal. The Dolphins weren't willing to match, and Miami let Raekwon Davis sign a 2-year, $14 million deal with the Indianapolis Colts. But the 9 defensive linemen and 5 offensive linemen who are competing to replace Wilkins, Hunt, and Davis each barely make more than the NFL minimum. Let me provide an illustration of the disparity in the financial resources used to address those free agent defections. Deshaun Hand, Tier Tart, Jonathan Harris, Neville Gallimore, Benito Jones, the 5 veteran defensive linemen Miami signed this offseason collectively will earn $7.85 million this season if they make it to the 53-man roster. Davis, a role player for the Dolphins the past 4 years, will be paid $7 million by the Colts. This is an exciting time personally for me as a coach, defensive line coach Austin Clark said. There's a challenge of helping guys who have all had different roles in their careers, whether they have been the guy who has started or haven't, or have been a guy fighting to make the roster. I'm challenging them, working with them. There is some internal motivation from those guys, and I definitely feel that. Offensively, Miami was forced to rebuild the interior of the offensive line, which was filled with replacements in the final 2 months of the 2023 season because of injuries. Miami signed Aaron Brewer to a 3-year deal worth $21 million this offseason with expectations that he will replace Connor Williams at center. Williams sustained a season-ending and potentially a career-ending knee injury last December and remains a free agent, but the odds of him joining an NFL team are slim at this point. Brewer's athleticism should come in handy when it comes to making a second-level blocks, but the fact he's listed at 6'1", 295, which is relatively small for a college offensive lineman, much less an NFL starter, might present some trouble for Miami's offensive line in the pass blocking department. Liam Eichenberg is projected to be his backup, but when he's not taking snaps at center, this former Notre Dame standout is competing with Jack Driscoll, a free agent signed from Philadelphia, and holdovers Isaiah Wynn, Robert Jones, Lester Cotton, and Chasen Hines for 2 starting guard jobs. He's not competing with Isaiah Wynn, buddy. Isaiah Wynn's got left guard locked up. Who are we talking about right now? Offensive line coach Butch Berry is confident Eichenberg's cross-training at center, which began last offseason and carried into the season, will make the 2021 second-round pick a better pro. At this point, he has started 38 games and has played all 5 positions on the offensive line. Not very well either. If the Dolphins didn't allow Eichenberg to settle into one spot, possibly right guard, they would be doing him a disservice. Miami added Driscoll, who started 17 games the past 4 seasons, because of his athleticism, Barry said. Driscoll's a guy who can really move his feet. He has good quickness, Barry said. He's very dedicated to his approach and how he wants to do things. As far as Jones and Cotton go, who each started games last season, Barry wants to see consistency from them, especially since they now have 2 years of experience in this scheme and spent 1 season with Barry learning the finer points of it. Head coach Mike McDaniel has been extremely clear that each offensive lineman who's been in the Dolphins program for longer than a season should take another step forward because they have familiarity with the scheme and understand what is needed as well as what's expected of them. I'm very happy with our current orchestration of both these units. The offensive line, there's a little more history and experience personally with all the guys involved, McDaniel said. On the defensive line, there's more news. So the guys are working to get things tied together with the entire defense in that regard, just like the newer offensive linemen that we do have are working to master a new scheme. McDaniel hasn't strayed from this "I'm happy with the team" mantra, but supports adding talent that would ratchet up the competition level. Right now, that would require a larger salary commitment for possible free agents such as Calais Campbell or the utilization of trade resources. Miami could wait until teams begin the process of trimming their rosters down to 53 at the end of August and see what can be found on the waiver wire or sign a veteran who has been displaced. It's early, but for now, what's on the roster is what the Dolphins have to work with. I think competition always breeds benefits for the Miami Dolphins just because it brings the best out of people, McDaniel continued. We'll never shut the door on that, but I'm happy with the groups, their production, how they've been working together. We'll see if McDaniel keeps that same tune when his team is in pads come August, which provides the best chance to evaluate the trenches before the regular season begins in September. Hopefully, it won't be too late to make improvements by then. So here's where I'm at with this. This is something we've talked about. This is something we've considered. You do not feel a sense of urgency to improve that unit for right or wrong. We can agree with it. We can disagree with it. You know what I mean? I mean, that's just where they're at right now. You do not feel that sense of urgency that they think they need to get better tomorrow. Now, are they putting on a strong face for the cameras? I don't know. I can't comment on that. I don't know. I would love to be a fly on the wall, but I don't know what goes on in those conversations. So, you know, it is what it is. Now, smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new. There's over 350 of you in the room on YouTube right now. Smash that like button. Let's get to 200 likes before this episode is over. Now, this kind of segues me into something I want to discuss. Is Zach Sieler the most valuable player on the Miami Dolphins defense right now? If he goes down, that defensive line is up the creek with no paddle. I mean, you know, we had Raekwon and Wilkins you could lean on besides Zach Sieler. Now, when you look at it, think about this. Think about this for a sec. If he were to go down, you'd be leaning on Jonathan Harris, Benito Jones, Tier Tart, Deshaun Hand, and like Neville Gallimore to basically take on the full workload. Now, a lot of you already, and rightfully so, a lot of you already deem the task of those guys rotating and filling the shoes of Christian Wilkins as almost an impossible task. Now, if Zach Sieler goes down, what happens? See, the thing is, if you lose Ramsey, you can't replace Jalen Ramsey. You can't. But you got Cam Smith. You got a, second round pick in the chamber. You know what I mean? You lose Teron Armstead. You got Kendall Lamb in the chamber. You know what I mean? Same thing with if you lose Austin Jackson, you got Kendall Lamb in the chamber, right? Jonathan Smith goes down. Hey, we know we can rely on Durham Smythe, and Jody Fortson's looking like, hey, I can do something with the ball after the catch. You know, we lose Tyreek or Waddle for a couple games. We got OBJ, we got Malik Washington, we got Eric Ezekiel, right? Zach Sieler is almost one of those players on this team right now where, he's gone from most underrated player in the league and on this team to most valuable. You can't afford to lose. Now, maybe in the draft next year, they add more to the interior. But for right now, given how this interior is built, Zach Sieler is one of the few players on this team you can't afford to go down. He needs to stay healthy this season. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Did someone... Run, Jen! Run! Run! The guys are in the chat and they're going to come for you. Run, Jen! Run as fast as you can. Yeah, kind of. Kind of. I mean, we could sit here and talk about the Washington Commanders, right? A lot of good defenses. Interior is starting to be valued in the NFL. See, this is an interesting one. Tony Rizzi says, this man, Calais Campbell is a great addition if you can make it happen. Ogba, low key, if he's willing to take not much money, if he's willing to come here and play here for somewhat of a minimum, I've talked about this on the channel before, Tony. Ogba would be someone I'd be contacting his agent and say, hey, listen, are you willing to take, a 1 year, prove a deal with us? You're familiar with the players. You're familiar with some of the staff, like Austin Clark and such. And that's a guy who can play inside out a little bit for you. Jennifer, you need to put a restraining order on Kevin Williams. I'm going to be the first one to tell you. Have you heard anything about this proposed Giants trade for Smythe? It was brought up on Twitter. Yeah, that's just I talked about this yesterday night. That's just a rumor. Like, there's literally no legs to that. That's just someone putting that out there. That there is, I can't sit here and say there's any validity to that. I really can't. And even the way the place that it came from, said person has no track record with breaking news or being sourced or plugged in. So, listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. Unless it's coming from, there's only a few guys on Twitter I would take their word to the bank, myself being one of them, of course, but Bobby's another one. There's really, not too many random accounts I'd be putting much stock into, right? So that's why you haven't heard me really cover it or anything like that. So, all right, continuing on. Do the Miami Dolphins, we're sticking with the defense, so all you defensive fans who are sick of the Tua talk, this is your show. Do the Miami Dolphins have the best cornerback duo in the NFL? PFF sure might think so. We've gone over these rankings a couple times, right? Where, we were the only team that had, there's been a couple times where we're the only team that had multiple players at positions in the top 15, like running back. We were one of 2 or 3 teams at edge that had 2 players in the top 15. Now we got 2 players in the top 10 according to PFF. So PFF, they went ahead and they ranked their top 32 cornerbacks ahead of the NFL season. Now, number 1, Sauce gets away with holding all the time. Gardner, I mean, he's the best in the league till he faces Jalen Waddle. I don't know what else to tell you. Number 2, Trent McDuffie. His stock blew up after that year last year, right? It blew up. Travarius Ward, San Fran. Pat Surtain, the second for Denver at 4. Jalen Johnson at 5 with the Chicago Bears. They got Ramsey at 6. They said the Dolphins traded for Ramsey prior to the 2023 season, but he suffered a torn meniscus in training camp and missed the first half of the campaign. He didn't look like himself when he returned, so he takes a hit on these rankings. When fully healthy, Ramsey is a top 5, if not top 3 cornerback. So then why isn't he in the top 5? He's healthy. Why you got him at 6? They contradict their own write-up. Holy jeez. His 90.4 grade from 2020 to 2022 shows that he's a top 3, top 5 quarterback. Jair Alexander is at 7. And then, looky. At number 8, Kendall Fuller. And you had people out here trying to tell you, I told y'all when it happened, this was an upgrade from Xavier Howard. And you have people out here trying to tell you that Kendall Fuller was a step back, that Kendall Fuller didn't move the needle. And I told each and every one of you that is incorrect. Kendall Fuller and Jalen Ramsey is a damn fine duo. And PFF, they got Kendall Fuller at 8. So we've got 2 corners in the top 8. And we're the only team with 2 corners in the top 8. So by my math, I've got 10 toes and 10 fingers, so I can count to 8. I guarantee you. By my math, that says we got the best cornerback duo in the NFL, no? Just saying. What's going on, Hammer? How you doing? So, the Miami Dolphins, stand on your pedestal, fans. PFF thinks we got the best cornerback duo in the NFL. And you don't got to use all 10 fingers and all 10 toes to do that math. So, shout out to PFF for showing some love. Over 385 of you in the room. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you are new. I want to talk about... Oh, hold on. Before we talk about that, shout out to Sean Heller. Gifted 5 Inside the NFL memberships. James, Curtis, Hammer, Flaming Finn, and Jackal are all gifted memberships. If you're a member of the channel, you have access to exclusive member-only emojis. All right? I don't know if you guys know this, but you can put them in the chat. You got my face, just here. Look at it. You can go put my face in the chat. You want to see Richmond Webb go to the Hall of Fame? Throw some Richmond Webb Hall of Fame emojis in the chat. You loving Tua? All day, baby. Put him there. All right. You're a Jason Sanders fan? Well, we got the Colonel covered for you in the chat too. All right. You think Sims is a clown? Hey, I think he's a clown too. So, if you are a channel member, a new channel member, go over, check the community tab. You have access to posts that are exclusive to members of the channel only. All right. So shout out to all of you for showing some love. All right. Smash that like button while you're at it. Let's get into Dan Orlovsky. And Dan Orlovsky he's talked about the 4 AFC East teams, and this was a video today. He talked about the New England Patriots in the first half. Sorry, Jen, I clipped that out because we don't care about the New England Patriots over here. The only time we care about them is when we're whooping that ass like it owes us lunch money. And so I just clipped out the Dolphins part. So I'm going to play the Dolphins part for you guys because he said something very, very, very interesting. So I want y'all to listen very, very, very closely, okay? Because he destroys a narrative some of these people out here in this community and outside of it have tried to pitch to you.
And then for Miami, I was interested because Tua's contract's not done yet. Will it get done? All that. So I think I firmly place Tua in the you can win a ton of football games with Tua as your starting quarterback. There's only a couple you win because of. And then I was thinking to myself, it's such a unique offense that Tua operates with Mike McDaniel. And if we're being honest, I'm not saying these players are the same people or one player may not be better than the other.
Listen to what he says here.
To operate and execute this offense the way that Tua has in the last 2 years, in my opinion, the guys that I think can do it at that level or maybe a little bit better, there's not many of them. I have Patrick, because he's Patrick, that can run Miami's offense exactly with all the motions and the shifts and the play fakes and the ball handling and the anticipation of windows. I think Patrick can. I think Joe Burrow can. I think C.J. Stroud can. I think Brock Purdy can. And I think Stafford can.
5.
Those
That's
are the
it.
only guys that I'm unequivocal that they can operate this offense in Miami the way that Tua has. There's some fringe guys. I think Dak is a fringe guy with it. Goff, maybe Jordan Love. So it's interesting because you sit there and go, well, his contract's not done yet. It should get done. You probably don't place him in the Patrick, Burrow, Josh Allen world, but you're going to win a ton of games with them. And when it comes to Mike McDaniel's offense, there's not a lot of guys that can run that offense and operate and execute that offense as efficient and at a high level like Tua has. I think Miami's got to get that deal done and get it done quickly for that organization and their future.
How many, you got people out here that try to tell you guys, that try to tell each and every one of you, oh, this is a simple offense. This is an easy offense. Anyone can run it. What have I told y'all since the installs? Since Mike McDaniel? First of all, let's do some homework. In 2021, okay, when we were looking for an OC, who was the guys I wanted? I wanted Pep Hamilton or I wanted Mike McDaniel, right? We ended up hiring Godsey and Stoodsville and promoting them and making them co-coordinators, okay? Next, when we got rid of Flores, I said, if you're sticking with the guys who have been around the block, you go for Harbaugh. If you're going for a new coach with new experience, you go with Mike McDaniel. All right, so I've been out ahead of Mike McDaniel since a year before we even brought him on a head coach. All right, and I've been telling all y'all, this West Coast offenses are not easy to run. All right, you need to be a great processor, right? You need to have all the intangibles up here to be able to run that. Listen to the top 5 that he said, because you can't even count the fringe guys. When you started naming Dak and stuff, those are fringe guys. When I say fringe guys, those aren't guys who can run it as good and as efficiently as Tua Tagovailoa. Look at the list he named. Patrick Mahomes, generational talent. Joe Burrow. Remember, I wanted Burrow or Tua coming out of that draft because they did a lot of the same things, right? So there you go with that. CJ Stroud, right? He's a great pocket passer. You all saw what he did last year, right? Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford's been around the block and been in the league for how long? For how long? Like, look at the list and the guys that he's putting Tua with. And he could only name 5 players that he unequivocally thinks could run this offense as efficiently and as effectively as Tua. So what does that say? Right? Like, he didn't even think Goff could run it. You know, he thinks Purdy can because he's in the Shanahan offense already. That's why. And Purdy is like the things Tua's elite at, Purdy's like right there under him with. Stafford, been around the league, one of the smartest quarterbacks in the NFL, big arm. Joe Burrow does a lot of the same things as a passer Tua does. Patrick Mahomes, I mean, it's freaking Patrick Mahomes, right? You know? And CJ Stroud had, as a passer, one of the most impressive rookie seasons we've seen lately. So, I mean, look, these people who come out here and tell you that it's the same argument as when, oh, anyone can operate that. Give them the weapons, they can operate that. No. Why didn't Teddy Bridgewater look like Tua? Even before that, when we were running that RPO, mainly RPO offense, why couldn't Brissett run it like that? Skylar Thompson doesn't look like a court. There are people who will lie to you and tell you Skylar Thompson looked better in the playoff game against the Buffalo Bills when he had 2 interceptions, had a far lower completion percentage by like 10%. He turned the ball more over, and he wasn't completing passes at a higher clip than Tua against KC. And they'll try to tell you that he was better in the playoffs. They'll try to, without remembering that Zach Sieler had a return for a touchdown, without remembering that the running game punched the ball in, et cetera, et cetera. Tua would have beat that Buffalo team in 2022. So, when you got a guy like Darren Orlovsky, I mean, that's a narrative killer right there. I've already killed this spot throwing narrative people have to throw around. When I had JT O'Sullivan from quarterback school on last offseason, already killed that, right? And he said, if you can't throw to spots in the NFL, you're not going to be in the NFL for very long. You're taught to throw to spots like in your young development stages as a quarterback. That's why these people who have never played the position or never played football at even the high school level out here trying to tell you how it goes down, and they don't know what the hell they're talking about. So right there, 5 players Dan Orlovsky thinks can run this. Remember, there's 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Just saying. Brock Purdy, who's already in Shanahan's offense. CJ Stroud, who just had one of the best rookie seasons as a passer, and he's a really good processor. Matt Stafford, who's been in the league for how long? Patrick Mahomes, who's freaking generational. And Joe Burrow, who does a lot of the same things as a passer that Tua does. So, stop listening to these people who don't know what they're talking about and will try to lie to you and make it out like everything Tua's doing is easy. If it was so easy, Bridgewater wouldn't look like an absolute crap show. You wouldn't have had Skylar Thompson looking like an absolute crap show. Mike White wouldn't look like trash when he comes into if it was that easy. Just saying. Just saying. Guys, smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. Appreciate each and every one of you for coming through and showing some love on this Tuesday. Had a little bit of a rough start to this one. Probably my roughest start ever. But, man, it turned into a smooth, great show, and I thank all of you for it. Shout out to each and every one of you who came through and showed love by smashing the like button. Showed love to Jen and Britt. We showed love with your donations. I appreciate all of you. Almost 400 of you in the chat right now. And I'm going to be back tomorrow with Richmond Webb and Mr. Ball Game. Be on the lookout for that. Thursday, I'll be live with Neil Driscoll at 5 o'clock. Sunday, I'll be live at 8 p.m. with Jen, Britt, and a fill-in guest for Neil, most likely. So be out on the lookout for all of that content coming your way. And I appreciate each and every one of you. I will see all of you on the next one. Until then, you don't know what time it is. Fins up all day, every day.